Alright, if you click on this video, chances are you are drowning in study materials, juggling work, family, or maybe even questioning your life choices at this point. And honestly, I get it. I'm in nursing school too, and balancing classes, work, family commitment, and somehow still making time for a little fun. The only reason I'm not completely losing my mind, a study system that actually works. Now, let's be real, we've all been there, staring at pile of notes, wondering, how am I supposed to memorize all of this? It's very frustrating, overwhelming, and if you're not careful, it can burn you out very fast. But here is the thing, there is a way to tackle all this information without losing your sanity. In this video, I'm going to answer the 5 biggest struggles students face when it comes to studying. And no, I'm not about to throw some generic, just use flashcard advice at you. We are getting straight to the real stuff that actually makes a difference. First, we'll tackle how to memorize an insane amount of information without frying your brain. I will share personalized techniques that work, especially for complex subjects. Then, we'll break down the best study habits and tools to boost your GPA. Yes, to boost your GPA without running yourself into the ground. We are talking smarter, not harder. After that, we go into how to prioritize what to study for exam, because let's be real, you can't learn everything, and stressing over every tiny detail isn't helping. I've been there. So after that, I will share how I personally balance studying, working, and actually having a life, and how you can do it too. And finally, we'll talk about mental strategies to stay motivated and handle stress when studying feels impossible. So I want you to stick around, because by the end of this video, you will have an actual plan to make studying feel manageable, maybe even have a little enjoyable moment. Let's get into it. All right, now let's talk about how to actually remember stuff without frying your brain. First things first, if your go-to study method is just reading your notes over and over, we need to change that today. Look, I get it. It feels productive when you have to read and reread. But if you've ever blanked on an exam despite hours of reviewing, you already know that it's not enough. This is where active recall comes in. Basically, active recall means instead of just looking at information, you force your brain to retrieve it. Have you ever thought you knew something only to forget it the second someone asked you? That's because you aren't actually testing yourself. So instead of just reading, say maybe Newton's law, ask yourself, what happens when I apply the force to an object? And try to answer without looking at your book or any material you have with you. Your brain has to work harder, and that's what makes the info stick. Then we have what is also called spaced repetition. And honestly, this one is a game changer. Have you ever crammed all night, felt like a genius? Yeah. During tests, then you forget everything the next day. That's because your brain treats crammed info like junk mail. It just tosses it. Spaced repetition fixes that by showing you materials right before you're about to forget it. So it sticks long term. Apps like Anki automate this, making sure you actually remember what you study. Your brain hates long, unstructured lists. So if you're trying to learn a bunch of medical terms, programming concepts, or economic theories, break them into smaller groups. It's like phone numbers. So if you're trying to learn a bunch of medical terms, programming concepts, or economic theories, break them into smaller groups. It's like phone numbers. You don't memorize them as one long string, right? So you group them into chunks because it's easier that way. Another technique that is very useful here is what is called mind maps and diagrams. And you don't have to be an artist to do this, just get visual. Have you ever noticed how timelines make something like history easier to follow? Or how a diagram can explain a concept in seconds when a whole paragraph just confuses you? That's because your brain loves visuals. So when I was trying to learn the nervous system, a simple flowchart made everything click, way better than staring at a wall of text. Now, I used to rely on the grind method, late nights, marathon study sessions, pushing through even when I was exhausted. Honestly, it was draining and not very effective at all. But once I switched to strategies like active recall, spaced repetition, and using tools like my iPad and Anki, I started studying smarter, not harder. It's made a very, very huge difference. So basically, try to make use of active recall, spaced repetition, chunking, and mind maps. So these aren't just study hacks. They are how you actually retain what you learn without burning out. All right, let's talk about how you can boost your GPA without burning out. One thing you should know first is your mental health. You can't pour from an empty cup, right? If you're running on empty, studying would really do anything much. So before even dive into study habits, focus on stress management. I used to get completely overwhelmed with the sheer volume of material, but here's a trick. Instead of stressing about everything at once, I break it down into manageable chunks, one step at a time. This helps me to avoid feeling paralyzed by everything I need to get done. Another a tool that is very helpful here is what is called Pomodoro. It's very simple. You just have to study for 25 minutes, then takes a 5-minute break. After 4 rounds, you can now get longer breaks. This keeps you focused for those short bursts and gives your brain a chance to recharge. Trust me, especially for tough subjects, it works wonder. Time blocking is another strategy I really swear by. The night before, I look at my schedule to see where I have free time, then I decide what to tackle. If something is more difficult, I give it a bigger chunk of time, followed by a longer break. Each subject, I give it shorter blocks. It's all about being realistic with what you can handle in the time available. Okay, and one more thing that is very helpful here is digital tools. We are in the world of tech. Apps like Notion is my go-to for organizing my notes, and I use GoodNotes. It's very amazing. I use it for handwritten diagrams, and I can't really get enough of it. Flashcards, yes, I use flashcard a lot. Quizlet is a lifesaver. It's basically like carrying your entire study material in your pocket. When I first started my nursing degree program, I thought textbooks were the holy grail. Read the textbook back to back, and but then because of the volume of what we are to study, it was impossible for me to keep up. And the truth is, not everything was actually sinking in, so I needed to switch up. I started watching videos from some creators that are related to what I wanted to study. For example, for my anatomy course, I usually use someone like Dr. Zach and Ninja Nerds, and for physics and chemistry, I make use of Organic Chemistry Tutor and Khan Academy. So those videos, they try to break down complex topics and keep me engaged. All right, another way you can boost your GPA is apply 80-20 rule to all part of your study. What this means is you don't have to study everything, you don't have to know everything. Just find the most important part of your study material and devote just 20% of your time to it. You'll see that it's way more productive than to expend all your time on everything, and at the end of the day, you won't be able to get much out of it. Focus your energy on just a percentage of the most important part of the study material, and trust me, it saves more time than studying the whole material. So another way that can help you to improve your score, your GPA, is try to be involved in study groups. Create study groups with your friends, even with your enemies if you can, but just try to create study groups. It's very awesome. In study groups, you can teach someone, they can teach you. And one more thing is try to use AI. For example, I have discovered that making use of ChatGPT voice actually helps in learning. To me, it's like having a personal tutor. Anything I tell ChatGPT is going to give it back to me. So let me test it for you to see right now. Can you explain to me, like a baby, what is the difference between meiosis and mitosis?
Sure. So think of your body like a big house with many room cells. Mitosis is like making a copy of a room. exactly the same. So you have two rooms that are the same. This happens when your body needs to grow or fix things. Meiosis, on the other hand, is like making special rooms like those for babies, where they are different from the original ones. This happens when your body makes eggs or sperm, so they can combine and make a baby. Meiosis makes sure each room is a little different, so we don't end up with the same thing every time. So mitosis is for regular copying, and meiosis is for making special different rooms for babies.
Oh, wow. Okay, can you see what I'm saying? See how ChatGPT has helped me to break it down, something that's, could be confusing, and it's breaking it down in a way that is very relatable to me. When I want to review concept, or maybe I'm on the go, I tend to turn to ChatGPT. And another thing you can also use is what is called the Notebook LLM. Notebook LLM is a product of Google. It can turn an entire topics into conversation. It's very fun. It can turn a whole textbook. In fact, you can feed Notebook LM with 4 or 5 textbooks, and it's going to turn everything into conversation. And you can even chip in, try to contribute, ask it whatever you want. So it's a good way of summarizing, reviewing what you have learned. If you guys want me to make a tutorial on how I use apps like the Notebook LM or ChatGPT to study, I'll just comment in the comment section and I'll be glad to do that. To wrap it up, it's all about mental health, efficient time management, using the right tools, and tapping into technology. Study smarter, not harder, and you will see that GPA go up without the burnout. All right, now let's dive into exam strategy. You know how it goes. You end up sweating over tiny details, memorizing facts like there's no tomorrow. But here's the thing, not all details are created equal. Some topics are way more important than others, and that's where you should zero in. And if your course hands out an exam blueprint or AOC, area of concentration, the way we usually call it, these guides are pure gold. They highlight what's most likely to come out up in the exam, giving you a clear roadmap so you're not wasting time on stuff that won't a big impact. If you don't have one, don't worry. Like I said, use the 80-20 rule. Focus on the 20% of the material that is going to get you 80% of the mark. For nursing students, this might mean honing in on core systems like the cardiovascular system, the nervous system, or the respiratory system that's usually the basis of the question they ask in anatomy. Here is another tip that really works. Actively apply what you learn to clinical scenarios, or try to treat past questions. Instead of you just memorizing everything, think about how you can apply the knowledge. Ask yourself, how would I assess patient with a heart condition, or what treatment options are linked to this system? For example, let's say you are learning about the cardiovascular system. So by connecting theory to real life, the material becomes much more meaningful and stick with you longer. In addition, practice tons and tons of past questions. So this will let you know how the examiners will most likely structure the question. You will be familiar with this already. If you happen to be a nursing student watching me, I'm going to be dropping a link in the description where you can find free resources like past questions. So the takeaway here is, don't stress over every little detail. Focus on the high yielding topics, lean on your study guide, or use the Pareto efficiency rule, 80-20 rule, and always tie it back to clinical practice and past questions. That's how you make most of your study time and set yourself up for success. Easy, right? Now let's get through it for a second. Let me tell you how I myself personally, I make use of all these, how I balance my study, my work, and even having a life. And I believe you can do it too. It's not a walk in the park. Time management is crucial, but it's not everything. If you're trying to squeeze every minute of your day into study time, you're going to burn out. As simple as that. So Instead, it's all about setting boundaries and managing your energy. One of the biggest lessons I've learned is the importance of clear priorities. Without them, everything starts to blur together and it quickly becomes overwhelming. For me, that means protecting both my study time and my personal time. I've got to say no to some things that I can say yes to what really matters. For example, I usually study a couple of hours after work, typically from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. or weekdays, and on weekends I might hit the books from around 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. depending on how much time I have. But I always keep my weekends flexible so I can cook, clean, hit the gym, hang out with my friends. So this routine helps me feel in control without lesson studying consuming every single moment of my life. Self-care plays a massive role in all of this. So if you are taking care of your body and mind, nothing else really matters. I make it a point to get some exercise whenever I can, to be in my room or taking a walk in the environment. So it really helps to clear my head, and also eating well. I like food, so I eat a lot, and also getting enough sleep and doing things I enjoy or contribute to keeping me mentally and physically sharp. After all, if you're run down, studying just isn't as effective. If there's a task I don't absolutely need to do myself, I will ask for help. For example, I started out editing my own videos for my YouTube channel, but then I watched an Ali Abdul video where he said outsourcing your editing saves a ton of time, and it's something he would have done early on if he got the advice himself. So I took that advice and I never looked back. It's all about not trying to do everything on your own. Oh yeah, another thing is there is that dead time we all have when we commute or we are waiting in line for something. Those little pockets of time where nothing's really happening, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So instead of letting that time go, instead of letting that time go to waste, I use it to learn actively. Whether it's listening to a medical podcast, reviewing flashcards on Anki, talking to ChatGPT AI voice, it's a simple way to sneak in some study time without derailing my schedule. So if you've been following me, you will see that I rarely need to pull all-nighters or camp out in the library. I tailor my schedule to suit my brain, my commitment, and what I'm studying. It's all about finding what works for you and protecting that time for both work and well-being. So to balance it all, set clear priorities, your personal time, take care of yourself, ask for help when needed, and use any downtime for active learning. That way you can juggle everything without feeling like you're constantly running on empty. All right, so the next thing we are talking about is the mental strategies that you can use to stay motivated and handle stress when studying feels impossible. I already touched on this earlier. So managing stress and mental health is essential to studying effectively. Breaking things down into manageable chunks is one of the ways I do use to keep myself on track. And this mindset is very crucial for staying motivated and handling stress. So instead of viewing every challenge as this massive stressor that makes you want to pull your hair out, try seeing them as opportunities to grow, level up, and become even better at what you do. When the pressures feels overwhelming, remind yourself this is just part of the journey. It's normal to feel the heat, but each challenge is also a chance to build resilience. Also, try to visualize your future. I know this might sound like a bit, but trust me, it works wonders. Picture yourself at the finish line, acting that exam, finishing your program, or stepping confidently into your dream career. Creating that mental image gives you a boost when things get tough. It's like having a roadmap that excites you about what's ahead. Don't aim for perfection, aim for progress. I've had to remind myself this countless number of times. Every small win, whether it's finally cracking a tricky concept, nailing down a challenging problem, matters. Anything. Celebrate those little victories because they build up over time and keep your motivation alive. Finally, stay connected to your why. When things get rough, it helps to remember why you started this journey in the first place. For me, it's all about making a real impact in healthcare. If you happen to be a nursing student, think back to why you chose this path. Maybe it's to help others, or any reason you have. Maybe spark positive change or to pursue a passion, even if it's money. Just remember the reason why you have chosen this path. Reconnecting with that purpose can reignite your drive and keep you moving forward. So to wrap it up without wrapping it up too much, embrace challenges as opportunities, visualize your success, focus on progress rather than perfection, keep an eye out for burnout, and always stay tied to your deeper purpose. With that mental clarity, you will be ready to power through even the toughest days. All right, today we've talked about studying smarter, not harder. The big ideas: 1, prioritize high-yield topics, manage your energy along with your time, and remember that those small wins really add up. Take care of your mental health, stay connected to your purpose, and don't sweat the need for perfection. If you can put these strategies into practice, you will study more efficiently, keep your motivation high, and stay clear of burnout. So hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and I will catch you up in the next video. Cheers!